Hello everyone and welcome to this Efficiency for Access Design Challenge pitching webinar. I'm really excited to be here with you and with our brilliant speakers today to learn more about pitching and to help you prepare for pitching to the judges. A quick note before we begin for challenge participants. All standard cohort model teams will be pitching and you'll also receive feedback from your final submissions. For the large cohort model universities, the top 3 teams which have been selected by your educators will receive feedback on the final submissions and pitch to the judges. So you should all be aware of whether that applies to you, what position you're in. But if you're not, please let us know and please ask your educator. You should all know whether you'll be doing the pitching and getting that feedback. So here's our agenda for today. We're starting with welcoming you all, and I'm then going to do a brief introduction to pitching on the challenge. I'm then going to introduce our fantastic speakers, Filagot Tesfaye and Wayne Hutt. Filagot will speak about her experience of pitching, top tips and advice, and we will have some time for questions before Filagot needs to leave. And then we're going to hand over to Wayne for a presentation on the power of storytelling and how to use that in your pitches. And we'll have some time for questions with Wayne at the end, and also for questions to me about pitching on the challenge if you have any kind of specific to the challenge questions. And as I mentioned, if you have questions throughout, please put them in the chat. So pitching on the challenge. You will be receiving feedback from final submission reviewers by the end of this week. And that should be really useful, we hope, to help you prepare for your pitching. So some of the feedback from reviewers might be suggestions that you think about something that you hadn't considered, you do a bit more work in a particular area, and you're encouraged to do that in preparation for the pitching. So your design can change a little, shift, evolve, hopefully be refined before the pitching session if the reviewers' feedback suggests that that would be beneficial, but you can't present a completely different design. But please do use the feedback from reviewers as you prepare for your pitches. And then the pitching sessions themselves will happen during the weeks commencing the 16th and 26th of May. And I will be sending out your session allocations next week. In the pitching sessions, there will be 3 judges and 3 teams. They'll last for 2 hours each, and the pitching bit for your team will be a 10-minute pitch. We will be strict on timings there, so make sure that you practice and you can do it within the 10 minutes. We'll then have 5 minutes of questions from the judges and 5 minutes of feedback from the judges. One thing that we say throughout the challenge, and here is no different, is to make sure that you're addressing the assessment criteria. The judges will be looking at each of these and scoring you against each of these on your pitch. So do try and make sure that you're addressing all of those. And then a note that there's some pitching guidance on CrowdSolve. I hope you've all seen that. But that goes into a little bit more detail about the pitching, what to expect, how to prepare. And there's also a scoring matrix on CrowdSolve, which we hope will be useful for you if you'd like to do some pitching practice or preparation with your educator, maybe with your mentor, so that they could have the scoring sheet like the judges will have, and score your designs and give you feedback on a practice pitch. And a final note is that you don't all have to attend the pitching, like not everyone from your team has to attend, but we do encourage you to if you can. And similarly, you don't all have to present during the pitch, but you might choose to. It's really nice to see a lot of you there, but think about your strengths and the strengths of different members of your team. It might be that one person does the pitching and others are more active in answering questions, or maybe you each present a part of the pitch. So I hope that gives you a little bit of background and introduction to pitching on the challenge if you haven't seen that on CrowdSolve already. But let's get into the session today, because I think this will be really useful to help you prepare and think about like what you want to be talking about in your pitches, and how to develop and use those pitching skills during the sessions. So I'm delighted to welcome Filagot and Wayne as speakers today. Filagot is the founder and managing director of On Energy Consult and Trading, and the co-founder of the Ethiopian Women in Energy Association, where she served as its first president. With a background in engineering and extensive experience in the energy sector, Filagot has been consulting key government entities, NGOs, and private sector actors on the implementation of renewable energy solutions and clean cooking technologies. Filagot holds an MSc in Energy and Environmental Technology and Economics from City University of London, and has spearheaded initiatives such as solar-powered business incubation programs for women, and actively promotes gender diversity in the energy sector. So welcome, Filagot. It's brilliant to have you. We're really excited to hear from you today, and thanks for being here. And welcome Wayne as well. Wayne has over 25 years experience working in the field of learning and development. He's worked across a number of businesses, including large commercial corporations, charities, and startups. As a learning professional, he's worked extensively across the USA, Europe, and Asia Pacific, helping organizations to develop their people and improve performance. Wayne joined RS in 2019 as part of the grassroots education team, now the youth and community team. And his mission is to develop and nurture young talent with a special focus on engineering students to become both the leaders of the here and now, as well as the dynamic leaders of the future. So we're really excited to have you both with us today. Welcome and thank you for being here. And without further ado from me, I'm going to hand over to Filagot for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Rachel. I hope you can hear me all clearly. Yeah, so I'll just directly go to the topic that I'm going to share with you today. So it's like I would like to share you some of my experience and provide you some guidelines. I know you have already started for the preparation of the speech, so it might help you while you are preparing for it. So the first thing that I would like to share is you need to prepare to make a great first impression, whether when you're talking about yourself, or it might be, you might start by sharing a story, or you might prefer to show some pictures, whatever the method you like to use. But it's really important to have that first impression, to give attention to it. And as well, you know, because my experience is that first, on most of the pitch that I have been done on for business pitching, it might be, I have also done for government officials. But the first, you know, the first slide and the first idea is really important. So I just want you to highlight on that and be confident. Be confident with your idea and as well as with your personality. So when I say about your idea, you know, you have to know that no one knows your idea more than you do. So if you ask me, for example, about the problem and the idea that I have here in Ethiopia, particularly on the project that I'm working on. I am the one who is researching on that, who is doing business on that, who is also talking about it with other stakeholders. So for you, it's also the same. So you have already being innovative about this idea. You have already made a quite extensive research on that. You have already made your desk review. So you are the one who knows your idea more. So when you are presenting that idea for the judges, don't be intimidated, or don't make yourself to be to feel like you don't have experience in something like that. So you have to be confident with your idea, and you have to also be able to express it and be confident personally. Like it can be based on, it can be related with your education or your experience, your age, your gender, anything. So you have to be confident with the things that you already have. So it's already inside and as well as outside. I mean, the way you express yourself and as well as the mentality that you have. So you have to be confident from starting from your mindset, and then you can be able to express yourself with confidence. So the following few points are just a few technical things that will help you while you are preparing your slide. I know there are some technical things that you can see on the platform on the Crowdsolve platform. But for me, these are really important things that I can, present them at the top. The first one is to limit each slide to express one idea. You don't need to, you can have as many slides as possible, but try to minimize that. Especially one idea should be there on one slide. This will help you to express your idea within very few seconds. And you have to be also consistent so that you can make your slide to look nice. Everyone would like to see nice things. So you can use different tools, digital tools, so that to make your slide look very nice. You are also competing with other colleagues. So you have to make your slides to be beautiful as much as possible. So be consistent on the fonts, be consistent on the colors, the margins and all of the things, the pictures that you are selecting and all of that. So it will, help you to be visible as, it make your actually presentation to be a very good quality. Because every on the last point, I want to say you have to know your judges who is in the room. So the judges are also people, or they are relatable people. They have their own personalities, so they want to see good things, as we all do. So know your judges and know their expertise. I know they will share you. I hope they will share you their profiles in advance, so that at least you have to know the organizations they are representing, so that you can be able to present in a way that they would like to see, or they would like to relate, even for the marketing purpose. Thank you. So Rachel, can you move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so these are some of the pitching things that help me for my experience. These are some of the don'ts. So the first one is don't make it too technical. I know as engineers, I'm also an engineer, so I know as engineers, we tend to make our presentation to be too technical, and we want to show how we did the research, how we did the calculations, and how we did the assumption on all of that. I know they are very important things, but sometimes, especially when you use too technical words, it might also lose the attention, and it might also sometimes take time to explain those things. So don't make it too technical, and also don't ignore the end user. The user at the end, of course, the innovation, the technology is very good. The engineering aspect is very, very relevant for this competition, for this pitching. But we have to also to talk about the end user, how they use it, how it's changing their life, and how it makes them productive, and how it contributes to the social values. So don't ignore, at least just say few things and show that the end user, your community very well. And also don't skip the business model. Sometimes we do the engineering part on my projects. I design with my team, but we have to also make sure that it fits the market. It's also desirable for the market. There is a market. So the business model, some aspects of the financial aspects, how it's going to be sold, with the market, is also very important. So don't skip that. And you need to have a clear ask by the end. So the judges, who is in the room. After that, what do you want? For my experience, it might be different from event to event, but I might ask a partnership. I might ask a financial investment. I also sometimes ask for marketers and for promoters. Sometimes I ask for partners to be, partner on my project and to scale the innovations that I have. So you need to have a clear ask by the end, so that you can engage the discussion and invite them for another meeting. For this is a competition, but you need to also show that there is another step after the pitching. So try to show that as much as possible. Next slide, please, Rachel. So yeah, the last thing that I want to say is practice makes perfect. So after I prepare all of my presentations and my slides, I take moments to practice. Of course, I look into the mirror and talk, discuss my presentation. I do demos and all that. So practice makes perfect. It was, Rachel was also saying that you have a 10 minutes presentation. So sometimes, time might slip, and if you practice and try the slides and all of things in advance, it will make you perfect. So practice as much as possible. That's all from my side. I know I have a few minutes more to stay with you, but if you have any questions and anything that you want me to share with you, the floor is yours. Thank you for having me as well.
Thank you, Filagot. That was brilliant. Some great advice. And I agree, practice. That's always a really good way to prepare and to do a really good job. Does anyone have any questions for Filagot while she's still here? Feel free to raise your hand, come off mute, or put them in the chat.
I just have a comment, Filagot. I think that was great, and that piece that you really emphasize, which is no one knows your idea better than you, I think is really powerful, because it is your idea. So you're actually giving people an insight into your idea, and nobody knows it better than yourself. So I think it's worth remembering that you have as the pitcher, you have the knowledge on what your idea is better than any judge or any of the audience. Thank you. Really good.
Thanks, Wayne. We have a question from Jean Bonheur. I need to know what it means to have a clear ask at the end.
Shall I respond to that?
Yes, please.
So what I want to a clear ask at the end. Yeah, what I want to refer here was that when you know, there is an ending of your slides or your pitches by the end. I know there will be outline, they will be providing, it's there on the platform. So, but by the end of your slides, if you want to ask something for the judges, you can show, like, for example, you can say, this is the amount of money that I want to, you know, for the prototype of this, or you might say, I need more partners in this area to work on this project with me. And then if you want also the judges to link you with other organizations or other individuals working in that area, you know, for example, if you know, if you know one of the judges are working in some organizations and you know another organization is working on similar project on, it could be a university, it could be a research institute or non-government organization or ministry. If you want to have more partners, you can, you know, you can ask them by the end, this is my presentation, this is my idea, and I'm competing for this round, but I want also you guys to help me on this. You know, if you don't, you are not, for example, be one of the winners or one of, you know, the final one who are taking the prize, you can also use this opportunity for, you know, another another connections or another opportunities. Okay, so that's what I want to have. It's advisable to have a clear ask by the end of your presentation. I hope that's clear.
Yeah, thanks, Filagot. I think that's really clear. Just a clarification for people on the challenge is that the judges wouldn't be able to provide funding. So that's probably not one of the asks that you can make here, but in other potential future scenarios when you're pitching, that's definitely something that you might want to ask for. Like Filagot said, it's a bit case by case. But I think that's great advice, especially if you want to continue working on your project, to ask for collaboration opportunities or connections potentially that judges could make for you to colleagues working in a similar area, asking to connect on LinkedIn, even something quite simple, I think could work well, and not necessarily just if you're going to continue your project. I think it's really nice if you want to like stay connected to this area, to off-grid solar and energy access work, that you can make an ask of the judges in that respect, even if it's not super tied to your project. I hope that fits with what you have in mind as well, Filagot. That's just some of my thoughts and
Yes.
something to mention. Yeah.
Yeah, can I just one thing?
Yeah, I do.
Just a general and, you know, additional tip. Of course, you have to also meet the, you know, the evaluation criteria, all the contents that's required by the judges. That's the first thing. This is just advisable. By the end, you can do that. You can also leave that if you think that's too much or it doesn't fit within your time limits. You can also ignore that, but stick to the evaluation criteria as much as possible.
Yeah, that's a really important bit here. Thanks for the clarification, Filagot. Good advice. Do we have any other questions for Filagot before we move on? Some people saying thank you in the chat. That's lovely.
There's one from Hilaf, but I don't understand the question.
Oh, thanks, Sean. What we expect from Grant is their experience sharing. Yeah, I don't understand the question either. Hilaf, would you like to elaborate on that? Feel free to come off mute or put something in the chat. I'm not sure whether you're asking about prototype funding or something else. While we wait for Hilaf to do that, does anyone else have questions? Hilaf says, can we have country cross visit some on the related work? I'm still not understanding, I'm sorry. Sean has put a great tip in the chat. Thanks, Sean. You could always present your ask as next steps at the end of your pitch. You could say we're seeking ... Next steps point to a clear understanding of direction. And good point from Filagot to consider what's possible within the time limit. Thanks, Sean. I think let's move on now. Hilaf, if you like, we can talk after the session, or please put some more information in the chat. I'm sorry that I'm not quite following what you're asking. But thank you so much, Filagot, for being here. Thank you for a really engaging and insightful presentation and some great actionable tips that students can take away and put into their pitching. And I know you have a busy day ahead, so I'm going to let you go now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So we're going to move on to Wayne's presentation. I can just see one question in the chat that I can address before we do that. Jean Bonnet is... Okay, I think someone was off mute by mistake. So Jean Bonnet is asking if questions from the judges will be answered by the whole team or by the presenter only. That's completely up to you. They'll be addressed to the team, so you're welcome and encouraged to answer. Anyone on the team can answer. It might be that someone makes a good point and another team member wants to come and add another point in as well. So there's no kind of strict rules around who's answering questions. It's up to you based on who you feel is most able to answer and well placed to do that. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to pass over to Wayne now for a presentation on storytelling. Over to you, Wayne. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Just Rachel, just how long do we have, just so you can keep an eye on me?
Yeah, I think we have, can we go for 40 minutes? Would that be okay?
Absolutely, yeah. If
We'll
that's,
have 10 minutes at the end for questions.
That's great, okay. So there may be some slides that I may just ask you to move on if I think that they've already been covered by Filagot, but thank you, yes.
Sounds good.
Hi everyone. As Rachel mentioned, my name's Wayne and I work for RS, and I've been involved with organisations but throughout the years, but my current role is working with young engineers in universities, which I've been doing for the last 6 years. One of the things that Filagot mentioned was the fact that sometimes if we are too technical, we may be challenged to how do we get that across to people who are non-engineers? And as a non-engineer myself, it's easier for me to see whether or not something is going to be fit for purpose. And one of the great things that we have, all of us within us, is storytelling, something that we were brought up with at school from and passed on through our parents' heritage, etc. So I'm going to talk about the power of storytelling within a pitch, but also I want to give you some tips and techniques about some things that you should do in any visual representation, which we'll go on a little bit later. Okay, next slide, please, Rachel. Okay, so this is one session, and these types of skills, and I'll go through the whole package of what we offer later on, but they are so powerful in the workplace. And what we say is your professional qualification will get you through the door, and it'll get you an interview, and it'll hopefully get you a job as well. But these softer skills are so powerful, we call them super skills. These are the ones that will actually keep you in your room, and you'll probably rely on more of these things throughout your careers rather than just your professional qualification. But I don't want to talk too much about that. Thanks, Rachel. Okay, so here's a question. What is glossophobia? And the answer is the fear of public speaking. And when we look at throughout the world, the percentage of people that might get anxious about it, it's quite a lot of us. So when we see people in the public eye, you know, maybe presidents or, you know, senior people in industry, they've started from a place where we've all started from, which is zero. So it's a learned behavior. They don't suddenly wake up one day and become really good at it. And one of the things that Filagot mentioned was about the practice, and practice can really, really help. So, and my mind is that it's okay to be a little bit anxious if you are going to do something out of your comfort zone, because it means that you're in the right place. It should feel a little bit clunky. It should feel a little bit awkward, because it means that it's something important. Next slide, please, Rachel. Okay, so what are we going to cover? I'm going to provide the first 10 minutes around some structure that you might want to consider. And I've got some tips and techniques around how do you make sure you structure it. And we're going to cover one of those simple structures, which is the PAD. And as Rachel alluded to earlier, some of these things are not just for the session when you're pitching for this particular competition. They are relevant for you and hopefully will stay with you for other occasions where you have to do some pitching or presenting or selling an idea, shall we say. Something that I'd like to talk a little bit about is non-verbal communication, or body language, as we may call it. How do you manage those questions, audience management, and then some tips around any of the visuals that you're doing as well, and some do's and don'ts around those. And hopefully there'll be something in each of us, because we're all somewhere down the line. So if you can just take around 10 to 15% of what I'm going to be explaining to you today, then it's been successful. Okay, next slide, please. Next one, please. Thank you. So this is what it would feel like a little bit, probably on the day, depending on how comfortable you are and how much experience you've had of it. But I mentioned if it feels a little bit clunky when you are, or you feel a little bit anxious about presenting, that's absolutely fine. You should feel that way. You're in the right place, because all of the honey, all of the good stuff is at the end there, which is the growth, the learning zone and the growth zone. And you can't get to that without going through a little bit of that feeling uncomfortable. What I find is a number of people will stay in their comfort zone because it feels safe and it feels like you're in control, but it doesn't grow you. So whatever happens after your pitch, you are definitely heading towards the growth zone. And this never stops, by the way. It's not just around pitching. It's you know, I've had lots of times in the probably last 3 weeks where I've had to come out of my comfort zone and do stuff which maybe some of you guys find easier. So our comfort zone is very personal to us, and only you will know whether you are stepping outside it. But what I would say is just take that leap of faith, because towards the end you'll realize that your comfort zone will grow, and then you set yourself another learning zone and growth zone. So this is really a really important slide just for you to grow. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is something that will help you with structure. And if you remember, Filagot was talking about that last slide, or making sure that you know what the ask is at the end of the slide. You can actually prepare for that by putting together what we call a PAD, P-A-D, which is purpose, agenda, desired outcomes. So before you make any slides, before you put any visuals together, think about what the purpose is. What is the purpose of what I'm trying to do here? I've got 10 minutes. What is it that I want them to do as a result of it? So you define what that purpose is. You then leave out the agenda. The agenda actually comes last. And when I say agenda, that's actually your slide deck or whatever your visuals are, or whatever it is that you're going to do. And then you come to the first one. So in effect, it should be called PDA really, because it's a purpose. Then desired outcomes, which is what do I want the judges or the audience to know or do as a result of this 10 minutes. So you frame it. You frame your presentation or your pitch, and you can do it even though it's 10 minutes. Some are longer, some are shorter, but there shouldn't be any slides in your agenda, in your pack, that doesn't represent either the purpose or desired outcomes. What I find a lot of times is that people will go for style over content. So the first thing that people will do when they have to do a pitch is think about what it looks like, what slides to include, put a really good, fantastic, mind-blowing visual out there. But what you got to remember is that people come to see and listen to people, and your slide deck is an aide-memoire to your story. It's not the story. So if you're thinking about, do I include this slide? Do I not include this slide? Top and tail it. Think about what the purpose is and what is it that the desired outcomes, what is it that I want people to know as a result of this or to do? Is it a call to action? Is it information, etc.? And then you design your slide deck and not the other way around. So that's one form of structure. If we can go again, please, Rachel. The other structure is what we call the 3 tells. So if you remember at the beginning here, I tell them what you're going to tell them. So you give them the context and the background. If you've got 10 minutes, I would say spend 30 seconds. That's all, just to tell people of what the context and the background of your story is. Then you guys are the experts, which is the middle piece, which is the main body of your story. And then you tell them what you've told them. So another way, there's a summary, which probably is about 3 bullet points. and it will sound something or look something like. So just to finalize, these are the three things that we're doing next, or these are the three things that we believe this particular idea or project will help people or help society, whatever your cause is. But people remember beginnings and endings, and certainly the ending. What you want is for them to come away understanding what it is, because they'll remember those three things that you've told them. So those are the three tells. And again, this is talking around structure. So it's tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you've told them. So the last piece is a summary or reinforcement of number two. Okay, next slide, please, Rachel. And here's a company that you may know, which is Pixar. Now, Pixar, and you guys can, you know, if we had more time, we could go into a bit more depth, but they have something called the story spine. And if you look at any Pixar movie, they will always have the same structure. And it's no different for a pitch, but of course, it's a little less for us. But if you have a look at the story spine, their once upon a time, or their introduction, which is tell them what we're going to tell them, is the beginning. And if you think about it, in those movies, we get introduced to the characters, we get introduced to what time of year it is, whether they have any special powers. And for the first 10, 15 minutes, they're setting the context. They're setting us up to know what is going to, we don't know what's going to happen, but we understand what the context is. So that's your beginning, if you like. And of course, it's not going to be a Pixar movie, but the principle is the same. And then if you have a look at the Pixar story spine, there's a number of events that happen in the middle. And this will be your story on your pitch. And that can take, you know, maybe 6 or 7 minutes of your 10 minutes. And then the summary at the end. If you think about any Pixar, there's always something that happens at the end, which is, you know, a new routine is established. It usually ends in a happy ending in some way, but there's always some amount of learning there as well. So that's something called the story spine. And stories are so powerful. So when we look at your pitch, just think of how you can make a beginning, middle, and end. Just keep it very simple. And when you practice in those 10 minutes in front of the mirror, as Filagot had mentioned, it's a good time to work out how long you can spend on each piece. Thanks, Rachel. Next one, please. If you remember, we're just alluding to Filagot's piece, which she said, you know, start with confidence. There are 5 techniques that you can use. Because you've only got 10 minutes, it depends on what suits. But the 5 openings, I ask a question. If you remember, I asked a question, what, you know, how many people are worried about public speaking and glossophobia. I've seen people come together with an image, which is a fire extinguisher, and they're talking about health and safety. The purpose of that opening 5 to 10 seconds is to hook people in. So you can bring along a proper image, you can tell a story, or you can give the audience a shock. And when I say a shock, you can start your pitch with, so if I was perhaps doing a pitch around education, I might say, did you know that 50% of the job titles in business at the moment won't exist within 3 years? So you don't have to elaborate on it, but it's just to hook people in. So this is a technique which is used quite a bit, and you'll see it once I've mentioned this. You'll see some of the those pictures, some of those stories that people tell and presentations. They will tend to use one of the 5 openings. You move on, Rachel, please, and the next one, please, and the next one. Okay. So what we know is that, and I mentioned that we don't want the slide deck to tell your story. You have to tell the story, and whatever images you're using for that, just use them as, and I call it an aid memoir, but they supplement what you're saying. What's really important is when we look at Moravian's formula, his claim is that 93%, if you add the body language and the tone, 93% of what we say is how we say it, rather than just the words. So if you were just putting a slide deck together and putting all your numbers, for example, or just putting words on a slide, you really have to represent that with the way that you speak. So if you are passionate about something, you're going to, your body language, voice and tone and your words will actually be in synchronicity. If you say you're passionate about something, but your voice is very low, such as I'm very passionate about this, it doesn't sound right. We can hear the words, but your body language and tone is telling us something different. That's why we can communicate quite a lot with other people, and people can guess whether or not we're excited about stuff, even though we may not understand their language. And you can even think about the way in which we talk to animals as well. They go by the tone of our voice rather than necessarily the words. So make sure that when you are practicing, you focus on how you sound, what your body language is doing, whether it's very open, and not so much on the words. The words are really super important, but without the body language and tone, they won't come to life. So you need all 3 to make that message land in the way that you want it to. Okay, next, please. Next one, please. Okay, so here's an exercise. Now this is, we're talking about coming out of your comfort zone. We're not going to do this today, but this is something that you can try in your teams, in your pitching teams. Come up with a random statement, which is, for me, it was research tells us that companies value those people who have those soft skills. And then have a look at the emoji. You hand out an emoji and you ask people to describe it via that emoji. And the others have to guess how they're feeling about it. Because at the moment, that's very much a vanilla statement. And if you have that on one of your slide decks, if you don't actually portray it with your body language and your tone, people won't know how you feel about that. So it's a great exercise, and it will take you out of your comfort zone. If we had a face-to-face environment, this would be, it's a fun exercise to do. But we're not, in the interest of time, we're not going to, I'm not going to impose it on you today, so you're okay. Thanks, Rachel. And again, you know, there's so many things here that I'm describing which Filagot has alluded to, and her piece around the, you know, practice. When we look at how something becomes regular or normal for us, or just part of what we do, there's 2 things that you need. One is training, and the other piece is the opportunity to embed it. Now, if, for example, we come away from, you know, the chat that myself and Filagot have have spoken about today and some of the techniques, and you think, hey, that's really great. And let's say you give it a 9 out of 10. If you don't actually practice that, if you don't actually put into place any of the things or get the opportunity to try them out, then your potential embedded learning score might be 13. So what you need is a consistent piece where the training was okay or it's good, but the opportunity to practice is high as well, and you've got more chance of embedding it. Because around about 70% of what we learn is through doing. So as much as we can provide some of the tips and techniques today, you will learn more by actually trying it out and doing it. So the more you practice, the better you become with it, and you become more familiar with it as well. So by the time that you come to pitch and you look at those that pitch and the presentation slides, you actually get to a position where you are visiting an old friend, because that's your slide deck. You're so familiar with it that you can tell the story, and so much, in fact, that you fall in love with a story that you want to tell everyone about it. That's the ideal piece that you want to get to. Next, please, Rach. As I mentioned, the purpose, there's a number of different reasons why pictures or presentations come about. And, you know, for this one, it's possibly not a call to action because you're not asking for funding necessarily, or help from the judges, but it might be to inspire others or inform. And the question to ask you is, when you have your pitch ready, if you were in the audience, if you're receiving this, what would you find engaging? So test it out. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. Put yourself in the recipient's shoes rather than in the pitcher's shoes. And people will remember things in threes. So think about what the 3 messages that you want the audience to take away from your presentation, which, if you remember, relates nicely to that the summary, which is the third part of the 3 tells. Tell them what you've told them. Yes, please, Rachel. Now, managing questions, and it does start with making sure that you're in a good mindset. And the way to remember it is that if you get any questions, it means that people are interested. There is no way that you can tell your story in 10 minutes because you've been working on it, and there's so many things that you want people to that you want to relay to people. So you have such a short time. But what I would say is less is more, because if you leave out any of the detail, then one of the judges may well ask you about it. So keep to the brief, but your mindset is, if I get questions, they're a good thing. They are not there to test you or try to trick you or trip you up. They come from a great place of curiosity. I talked about your body language and tone. So here's a thing that I've seen before when people have pitched, young engineers have pitched, and they have been great pitches, by the way. And then at the end, their voice changes a little bit and it's more of a rush. And they'll say, okay, that's what I've got for you. Are there any questions? And their voice goes up and they're not particularly wanting the questions. But if you step into it, there's a lot more confidence. If you were to say, so that's my pitch, that's our pitch that we have for you. We would welcome any questions that you have for us. It's so much, it sets you up, your body language, you step into the question rather than stepping away and seeing them as bad things. And a reinforcement slide at the end. This is a technique. A lot of people, you'll see this question mark. And we don't always have this as the last slide. In fact, I recommend that this is the second from last slide, but because then once you have questions, it can take away the meaning from the last 3 points that you wanted to make. So what I would suggest is, are there any questions, with a question mark? Once the questions have been asked, you have one slide at the back, and then you say, so just to remind you, these are the 3 things, bang. And it leaves, the message is left with you, and you have the last word. And it's just a lot more powerful. Thanks, Rachel. How am I doing for time?
You've got about 14 minutes left.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Okay, just to summarize that last piece that we've had, here's the 3 things I've got for you on that. So how you say something is more powerful than just the words. That's pretty much the summary of all of the body language, tone and words. Remember that pitching, it's an art form. It's not a science, which means we all can get better at it. You can't just learn it, and there isn't, you know, every pitch or presentation is different. So just see it as something that we're always working on. And remember those 5 openings. As I say, this is recorded, but think about how you might open your pitch. Think about something that will attract people from what you're about to say. What makes yours stand out a little bit? And yeah, think about your audience when putting your slide decks together, which again, Filagot talked about knowing your audience. We go to the next slide, please. Okay, I just want to talk to you a little bit about slide decks. Some of it may be relevant for your pitch, but certainly some of it will be relevant for the future for you guys as well. If you move to the next slide, please. Okay, here's a do and don't. This is not a good slide, the one on the left. So it's overloaded with text and there's not enough white space, and we need white space. It allows people's brains to actually free themselves up from the clutter and enables us to take them.
7 words.
Sorry? Okay. So avoid the one on the left. And if you are looking to, you know, this is a more brain-friendly slide on the right-hand side here. Because the challenge with the one on the left, absolutely, Oliver. If we have a look at the slide on the left, you guys are trying to read that now, and you're also trying to listen to me. So there's a compromise. So I'm giving you too much stuff to think about, and you're probably, and we're all reading at different speeds as well. So please don't make your slides text heavy. Summarize them and don't put too much information. Remember, you don't have to put the whole workings of what you're doing. The judges will ask questions if they're interested in what you're doing. Okay, next one, please. Okay, if you are going to use graphs, believe it or not, there are people who have, I'm not sure exactly what the term is, but they have a challenge with graphs. Now, this is, if you are to use graph, keep them simple and also explain them. So the worst thing that can happen if you explain what a graph is intending to do and how it is structured is that you're going to reinforce it for some people. But if we have a look here, so I would explain this graph very simple. I say on the left hand side we have the number of students, and at the bottom here we have the months of the year where birthdays take place in this particular university. And then I would slow it down. And as I would say, as you can see, June has the most amount of students with birthdays. That is an acceptable slide. If you go on to the next one, please, Rachel. One of the things just to bear in mind is that there is a percentage of people who struggle with or are colorblind. This is regular vision at the top, so but there are 3 other types that we might be seeing things. So all this is reference to is if we are using, if we go back to the other slide, please, Rachel, very quickly. If we were talking and explaining this slide and talking about blues and greens, and we might say, as you can see from the, the number of students on the red axis here, people might there are some people that might not see the colors. So absolutely use color, but don't forget to talk around it as well. If you move on to the next one, sorry. So here, so just so you know, for some reason, the most common color blindness affects 22% of males. 22% of males. So if you are in a room with 50 people, 50 males, there's a chance that 1 or 2 are seeing colors slightly different to you. For some reason, this affliction for females, it's 1 in 200. So it's a male genetic inflection that we have. So it's just something to be mindful of whenever, if you are using lots and lots of color to express your pitch, or if there is color in it. So it's roughly around 1 in 22 males. We see things slightly differently, and women not so many, 1 in 200. Next one, please. So, and then of course we may have a bit more of a neurodiverse audience as well. So this is where some of those graphs can get a little bit confusing, and this is the stuff that I will struggle with. But not only you as the picture, you know that this perfectly makes sense to you. This is the first time I've seen it. So I'm having to listen to what you're saying, but also work out what that's doing. And that's a challenge for me. Not only that, but in this particular slide, you've represented lemons as brown when they're yellow, and apples as orange when in actual fact they are green. And so that's quite confusing. So keep it simple if you're using any graphs to represent what you are trying to do. The less scientific, the better. If you go on to the next one, please. And absolutely avoid something like this, which I've seen in pictures before. Very technical, but you're not talking to a technical audience. And if you are in, a scientific club where this means everything to everyone and you don't need to explain, that's absolutely fine. Because next slide, please. This is what it would look like for the audience. It's like spaghetti. It's spaghetti junction. So just keep it really, really simple. And if you don't have to use graphs at all, that's absolutely fine. Next slide, please, Rachel. Next one, because we're not doing virtual. And the next one, please. So what can you do if you move on, please? So remember those 3, the power of 3. So think about anything that you are using as a slogan, any catchphrases. If you think about the things that we remember with Nike, McDonald's, L'Oreal, you've seen the adverts for those. And some of the things down the bottom there, our brain accepts 3 very easily. So make sure that if you are putting anything on the slide, especially your finey slide. You can put a quote on there for perhaps, which is another thing that I've seen, which is brilliant. But just keep things very simple. Keep the 3 things that you want people to know as a result of it. Next slide, please. And remember to, because you are pitching for 10 minutes, just remember to practice it, get it out as a narrative, feel comfortable with it, make sure you're your own person. And if you think about the teachers that we remember from our childhood, the ones that I remember, the ones that made the subject interesting, they would tell us stories. They would narrate it in a way that we wouldn't forget them, and the things that they were telling us, the important stuff. So, as Kipling said, you know, if history was taught in the form of stories, it would never be forgotten. And I certainly learned a lot from history through the storytelling, but even through narratives that are on TV or were a few years ago, like Horrible Histories or whatever it was. I think that was just a bunch of stories which we remember. Next slide, please. And this is a great quote by Laura Holloway, which is, you know, the more that you can tell your story, it offers the opportunity to talk with your audience, not at them. So get yourself into that mindset that you are just going to tell your story, and there are willing people are listening, and you're so proud of your story that you want to tell it. You're not scared about it. You're looking forward to telling people your story, and you've got 10 minutes on that stage to do that. How powerful is that? Next slide, please, Laura. Okay. This isn't a pitch, by the way, but it's just my final slide around the sorts of things that we help young engineers with, and you know, we either do them face to face or remote, as we do here. So there's lots of things here. I'm not going to talk about it, but the 92% piece really is the most important thing here, which is, you know, the difference between what we call hard skills and these a combination of having these soft and hard skills, because that's what employers are looking for. And if this is your first pitch, if this is your first competition, just embrace it, because you're just going to get just see it as part of your development, and just go out there and just tell that story and let people embrace you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Wayne.
Thank
that
you.
was excellent. So much good advice and
Yeah.
important takeaways. Just one thing I would say for challenge students, I really like your advice about leaving the 3 points that you want the audience to take away till after the questions. I think that's such a good idea. But given the format of the pitching sessions, you'll have like 10 minutes to do your presentation, and then we'll have 5 minutes of questions. So just for students, please don't do that for this pitch. But I think in future, that's a really good idea. Thank you, Wayne. Let's move to any questions. Do we have any questions for Wayne? Feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand or just come off mute. Whilst you're having a think about questions, I've just put some links in the chat to the pitching guidance document and the scoring matrix that you should take a look at when you're preparing, especially the pitching guidance.
Okay, that's cool. But yeah, I think the final thing I would say while you're thinking is reach out to Rachel if anybody just wants to contact me. I have my details on there, but Rachel can put you in touch with me if you needed anything for this. But there was a lot of information there. I appreciate that in such a quick time as well. So so I'm pleased Rachel has recorded it, and you guys can go over that presentation in your own learning style as well, so you can make it work for you, whatever you need.
Yeah, I think that's such a good idea. And with a long session like we've had today, you get so much to take in. So it's
Yeah.
a good opportunity if you can to go away and look at the recording and think about what this means for your pitching and what bits you can, include and integrate into how you prepare and how you present. We've got some people saying thank you in the chat, Wayne.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Hi sir, this is Bharat sir.
Hiya.
Yes. Sir, I need one suggestion, sir. How to get from the comfort zone, sir?
Yeah. How do you get from the comfort zone to the good stuff?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So first of all, you work out what your comfort zone is. So in other words, things that you can do where you don't have to worry too much about it. And everyone's comfort zone is different. So this is going to be personal to you. So coming out your comfort zone, you'll know when it's happening because you feel a little bit unsure about something, and you may get butterflies or feel a little bit nervous about it. To create, and your role really is to create more of these things and the way more of these comfort zones, because if you think about how your comfort zone has moved on, if we talk about our first day when we went to university and how we feel now, there was a comfort zone that we had to explore and come out of that first day of meeting people, the first lesson that we had, etc., etc. So we're constantly moving through. But what I would say is just keep practicing. But it would depend on what your comfort zone is at the moment in terms of this particular session or your particular pitch. Does that make sense?
Sir, thank you, sir.
Okay. Good question.
Yeah, great question. In my experience, it's really rewarding to realize that you've done some of the work to getting towards like the really good stuff, that you've put yourself outside of your comfort zone and you're getting more confident. It feels less daunting and less scary, and you're like moving towards the great bit in this outside of the circle in the diagram. Great. Sean and I are also here to answer questions specifically about the challenge pitching. So I know we have some accelerator participants with us today. So Sean can answer your questions and I can answer questions about pitching on the challenge. And maybe there'll be some that, Wayne, you want to jump in and offer some advice as well.
Sure.
So yeah, I just want to open the floor for wider questions about challenge and accelerator pitching, if anyone has them. Maybe we don't have questions.
I have a question for the audience, Rachel.
Oh, great. Go ahead.
Okay, guys, just in I just like a oh, somebody's talking. Sorry.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Wallai. Go ahead. Do you have a question, Morlo?
No, I just wanted to ask you about an opportunity.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. I think you might have cut off. Could you repeat, please? I think More Life might have dropped from the call. Oh no, I do see you there. More Life, I didn't hear the question very well. Could you say it again, please? Perhaps go ahead, Wayne, and More Life can put something in the chat if they have a question.
Sure. I was just going to ask people if they just wanted to put a number in the chat in terms of how are they looking forward to their pitch? 1 being not at all, and 10 being I can't wait, and just to see how people are just in terms of the confidence levels, if you like. So can you just put a number in anywhere between 1 to 10? 1 is I've still got a lot of work to do and I'm not that confident, up to 10, which is, you know, I'm absolutely, I wish it was tomorrow. So think about what number you are, and it'd be good just to get an idea of where people's, where their minds are. Hey, it's good 7
Great
there.
idea. 7, brilliant.
That's great. Okay, Oliver, great.
I think as you alluded to, Wayne, you're not stuck where you are, right? Like if you're a 3 now, if you're a 2 or a 4, you can,
Yeah.
with your preparation, with like, you know, doing the work and maybe watching this recording back and thinking about what you can integrate from it, and doing the practice like Filagot and Wayne have both recommended, you can build up your number so that you feel much more confident by the time we get to pitching. So I think it's really good to like think about where you are now, and then especially if you're quite low, how you can build that number up and become more confident and more like ready for it.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would expect you know, I think 8 is quite a good number to be, because I think if you look for 10, then you can complacency can sit in. So I think you should always have those element of, you know, a bit like preparing for an interview, Rachel, I guess. You know, you think, oh, I'm prepared for this, but I'm not quite. There's 2% of the unknown. So you can only do as much as. So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and those nerves come in, and that's, I think, probably often a good thing, because you know you care about it and you're seeing what's at stake and you're wanting to
absolutely right.
do a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're at the end of the session time-wise. I'll just maybe give 30 seconds more if anyone has any questions that they've thought of in the meantime while we've been thinking about the numbers. Sean, do you have anything that you want to say as takeaway to Accelerator or challenge students before we go?
To my Accelerator students, I've just sent you a WhatsApp with some top tips. So I covered that in there.
Awesome.
For the design challenge students, I'm looking forward to all of them. I haven't been at design challenge events this year, but I've seen some of your submissions. I would say just take a breath when you're pitching before you go. If there's technical difficulties, anything like that, don't worry. We accommodate for those, so we'll pause your time. You don't have to worry. So if you're having any trouble on the day, just let us know. And it should just be a simple fix. We have time built in to accommodate for all of that, so you don't have to freak out. I think, like Wayne is saying, it's good to have a little bit of nerves, keeps you on your toes, but the being too nervous can be a big hindrance on how well you, especially once you get to the questions portion. Just take it easy. And I think Wayne mentioned at the very beginning, and Filagot mentioned as well. A lot of you are engineers, but don't get too bogged down in the technical, because your judges won't follow all the math that you're trying to deliver. So concentrate on telling a good story. Those are my top tips after seeing, I guess I've seen like 5 years of students pitching. So
Just
Yeah.
sorry, Sean, just to add to that, I think Filagot got a question about who should take the question if they get asked from the judges. And just remember that you are a team, and you don't have to, and there's a reason that you're a team, is because you've all got different strengths and you've all got areas of expertise. So, you know, as Filagot said, just don't take it all for yourself. So, but just make sure if you're not pitching as part of the team, that you're always on, that you're always there listening. Don't feel as though you're disconnected and the only people of your team are the ones that are involved. You might get involved with a question that you might need to answer.
right. And if you don't know, I would suggest, if you don't know the answer, give your best shot and say it with confidence, and it'll work wonders, you know. Confidence is a lot of a pitch.
It is, and just to reinforce that, when I get asked questions, because I've probably had more questions where I don't know the answer than I do, so I always put forward what I would say, and I say words like "I believe," "what I think is." So rather than express it as a fact, you give your point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
More life, you're on the accelerator. You've asked any opportunity to share our slides or final advice before pitching. A few teams are doing this. I would also suggest this to the challenge teams. Share them with your mentor, and if you can, give your mentor the assessment criteria and do a mock pitch. So get on a call and ask them to do, if you can do 10 minutes with them, get them to score you and give you some feedback, and maybe they can even give you some mock questions. But that's the best way to practice, I think. If you can't get your mentor on short notice, for example, do it with a friend or family member. But I think just running through is a helpful task. Not sharing with us though, so we won't give feedback on slides because we can't review everyone's. So your mentors are there exactly for that reason.
Yeah, and I think it's so different. It's great to practice a lot in private on your own or as a team and speaking it through and doing run-throughs, but speaking it to someone, to your mentor, to your educator, that's a lot more like it will be in the real thing. So that's really great preparation if you can. Samson, do you have a question?
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks to Wayne and thanks to Shane and to the lady that presented just before. My quick question is that we're expecting some feedback. You said end of the week, and today is Friday. We were planning to have a mentor session on Monday morning. somewhere mid-morning. So we hope that we'll get the feedback for my team, so that at least when they meet their mentors around, Tom is organizing, so that at least when they meet around 10, they are prepared to be able to maybe get some help. That was my input. I'm not so sure what they had asked because I just stepped out a little bit, but I hope that will be solved. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, that's a great question. Yes, you will definitely have your feedback by the start of Monday. There are just a few teams where we've had some delays to the feedback. I think it's just 3 teams that we're waiting on feedback for at the moment, and I'm hoping to get that by the end of today to share with you. But if that's not going to be the case, I will let you know, and make sure that I'm putting your pitching session later on, during the pitching window, so that you're not shortchanged. You have as much time as other teams to respond to that feedback. So I'm sorry if that means that the session with your mentors is less useful. But as I say, hopefully we'll have all the feedback by the end of today, and all teams will get that by Monday morning.
Thank you. Noted.
Brilliant. Okay, we're quite over time, so I'm going to end the session there. But if you have more questions, please reach out to us. You can email us, you can send us a message on CrowdSolve, or you can send us a message on WhatsApp if you have us there, if you're in the various groups. And yeah, just remains to say thank you so much, Wayne, for being here, for giving a great presentation. Thanks everyone for coming, and good luck as you prepare for your pitching sessions. I hope they go really, really well, and I hope it's a valuable experience for you.
Brilliant.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Sean.
Bye.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.